Today I'm going to beat Pokemon Red using nothing but Pokemon acquired through in-game glitches. Most of you know the glitch Pokemon Missing No, but there are tons of available exploits throughout this entire game. And the first glitch we'll be performing today will make it so that we can force spawn any starter onto our rival, regardless of which starter we want to use. So we load up a new game as normal, and like any 7-year-old, go with Charmander. But instead of instantly fighting our rival, I save my game, reset, and hit start new game. So basically what we do once we're back in the bedroom but in our new game is hit save. And we're trying to reset the game on a certain frame so that we actually merge our save files. And this aspect requires a ton of precision. If you save too early, you're sent back to the first save file in Professor Oak's lab. If you save too late, you just reset over your file and have to start again. And if you do it really poorly, you just completely corrupt your save file. Basically, I merged the save files so that my player is in his bedroom in the second file, but the previous save's party stays with us. And upon doing this successfully, we start our journey in the second game with the Charmander from the first. From here, we again head into Professor Oak's lab, and all 3 legitimate starters are still there. Now, since we're only allowed to fight with glitched Pokemon, like our Charmander, we can't use any of these 3, but it does at least allow us to manipulate our rival's choice. Now, logically, and originally, I had planned on going with Squirtle so that our rival would have Bulbasaur. I thought it appropriate that we finally get revenge for the many years of him choosing our weakness. But unfortunately, for the second glitch of this run to be performed, we need our rival to either have a Squirtle or a Charmander. So I choose Bulbasaur and he goes Charmander. From here, we immediately launch an illegal underground fire lizard fighting ring in the middle of a research facility, and my Charmander supplants itself as the dominant fire lizard of Pallet Town. For now, anyway. You see that old guy standing right there? Yeah, he's actually our secret final boss today. It turns out he has a Charizard too. But for now, our challenge has officially begun, and we set our sights on Brock. Oh, but before we can get to Brock, we've got one more ridiculously tedious glitch to perform. So the rules for this run will be set mode in all major fights, no items, and no wild Pokemon grinding. This means there is no chance for Charmander, so we need to glitch our way into a second party member. So for this next one, we head into Viridian Forest and make sure our Charmander is poisoned. And next, we need to make it so that as we step in front of this last bug catcher, we get into an encounter with a wild Pokemon. As you can see, it's a super rare occurrence, so I elect to just use the save state and speed up to save myself time. But if you were attempting this on a handheld, every single failed attempt would require a reset. So eventually we get lucky and manage to pull up the encounter. We make sure to faint in battle, and as we return to the overworld, the trainer that we're next to finally decides to battle us. But because we fainted, we head back to Viridian, and the next time we step into the forest, a fight will trigger. Unfortunately for us, we can actually manipulate the game code to determine what that encounter will be. Now, the game will determine what that encounter is based off of the special stat of the last Pokemon you fought. And in Rival Fight number 2, Blue's level 8 Charmander has a special stat of 14. So we had to fight him, take out his Pidgey, and intentionally lose to Charmander, sending us back to the Pokemon Center. And then, as soon as we step into Viridian Forest, the encounter activates, and we see none other than Gengar. So good news, that's a Gengar. The bad news is catching this thing is gonna be very difficult. As we're fighting, I actually somehow hit a burn, and while in some ways that's good, it really puts the pressure on our fight, and then even worse, it takes us down to 2 HP. So basically, at this point, I'm left to just pray for a catch, and we actually managed to pull it off. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings our total glitch Pokemon up to 2. And with that, we're ready to take on our first gym leader, Brock. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, a Gengar to start off. That sounds really OP. The thing you gotta understand with this Gengar is its only moves are Lick, Confuse Ray, and Nightshade. And that's basically all it gets until Hypnosis and a really late game Dream Eater. So basically we have a Pokemon with amazing stats and terrible moves. The one saving grace for us, however, is that Gengar is also going to give us a beautiful, beautiful type advantage. Crazy to think, but a Ghost Pokemon is actually the perfect hard counter to Gen 1 Brock. And that's because this poor lad has no rock moves, and even better than that, nothing but normal moves. So Gengar starts the fight by setting up Confuse Ray and sending out Nightshades until it goes down. Onix is up next, and this is one of the first times we have just something really weird happen. I confuse Onix, and he goes for the normal type move, Bide. And it's really odd to see this, as this is something you would never see in a regular playthrough, but a confused Pokemon using Bide will still show the animation for confusion, but as I go for Nightshade, something even weirder happens. With a scrap of HP left, Onix unleashes its stored energy, and not only does it bypass Gengar's Ghost type, but it completely one-shots it. So it's nothing that Charmander can't handle, but it was just something that I was not expecting, had no idea that that was a mechanic in this generation, and I thought it was interesting. Anyway, badge number 1 down, and now it's time for the long journey to Misty. I think it's also time that you go ahead and subscribe, please. So nothing super exciting happens through the next route, but I do decide to attempt this glitch again. I'm thinking I have a basic understanding of it, and I decided to just go for it rather than following a guide. So after a few attempts in Rock Tunnel, I do manage to trigger a long-range rocket into Seeing Me as I use an escape rope, and I return to that room. And as I return to that room, the corresponding special stat of the last Pokemon I battled yields me a female Nidoran. Certainly not great, but it is another addition. Now, as we arrive in Cerulean, I set my sights on our next big glitch, and I decide to take on my rival and Nugget Bridge to get some extra experience. From here, I'm still not exactly sure how to do this next one, and I really don't want to mess it up, so I decide to first take on Misty, now with an evolved Nidoqueen and Charmeleon. So the first run is going as expected, with the 2 Pokemon mentioned going down, but taking Staryu with it. It's a Gengar versus Starmie to end it, and I'm feeling like I'm in a pretty good position. That is until I decide to go for Lick, forgetting that Ghost type does not affect Psychic types in Gen 1. It's not meant to be this way, but due to, ironically enough, a glitch, this results in our loss. Now aware of this, however, I'm able to regroup, take her down without too much issue with a combo of Confuse Ray and Nightshades on attempt number 2. And it's now at this point that I'm feeling ready to perform our next glitch. So we head to the northern route of Cerulean to catch an Abra. We won't be using it for the run, it's really only to perform glitches. Now also in this grass is a very important trainer that will be notable to, well, at least a few of you. As soon as we enter his line of sight, we hit start and perform teleport. From here, the game once again thinks we're in a fight, except it doesn't have any values to base the fight off of. So when we return to the route, nothing happens. So from here, we continue north to fight a trainer on Route 25 who has a Slowpoke with a special stat of 21. As a precaution, I decide to lose just so that we can get the rebattle. As we reach the route of Nugget Bridge, a battle begins, and this time we are able to force none other than the iconic, the mythical Mew to spawn. Now, most of you probably know about this. It's like the second most iconic Gen 1 glitch, but come on, guys, I had to include this one. But considering that I now have one of the strongest Pokemon in the game on my team, I'm actually deciding to insert another rule, and that rule is going to be that I'm not allowed to teach TMs to my Pokemon. In a lot of games, that wouldn't be that bad, but the moveset of Gen 1 Pokemon are awful. And basically what that means is my Mew is only going to be able to throw punches until it reaches level 40 and learns Psychic. You're seeing that right. It's got Pound, Transform, Mega Punch, and Metronome. Anyway, with 4 glitch Pokemon on our roster, we head to Vermilion City, home of Lieutenant Surge. We get Mew leveled up on the SSN and take out rival number 3. After that, we're straight to Lieutenant Surge, where Mew takes out his very first major Pokemon as a Voltorb. And I like to think it's at this moment that Mew truly begins to learn the way of the fist. You know, I named him Truck as a reference to the famous Mew under the truck Easter egg, but as this Pikachu comes out next and Mew pounds it into the dirt, I realize that Truck means something else entirely. We've been wrong about it all along. It's not that Mew is under the truck. No, ladies and gentlemen, it turns out that Mew hits like a truck. Now, with only Pound, not even a Mew is able to take down the Raichu, but Nidoqueen comes in to finish things up. And Raichu is only able to watch in horror as Nidoqueen slowly chips it down to get the win. Badge number 3, secured. From here, we head through Mount Moon to Lavender Town, head through the tunnel to reach Celadon, and pick up a Pokédoll. We then head back to Lavender Town, make quick work of our rival, and finish the Pokemon Tower section Marowak, by of course using the iconic Pokédoll glitch. For those of you that don't know, normally to take out this ghost, you would need the Sylph Scope, but if you just use a Pokédoll, it clears the event and you can head on through. Now, through this whole section, I've been keeping an eye on the special stats of my Pokemon, and I notice here that Gengar has the special stat I've been wanting. So from here, we try our next glitch. I go to the long-range trainer on the route between Saffron and Lavender Town, and I hit a teleport. Next, we head all the way down to Route 13. We battle a trainer and get into an encounter with Ditto. So at this point, we're basically doing the same glitch that we performed with the Mew, but by selectively choosing one of our own Pokemon to be transformed on, the game will actually read the special stat of our Pokemon. In this case, our Gengar has an 87 special. From here, we run, teleport back to Lavender Town, and upon re-entering the road, we're greeted with the old familiar face, Missing No. Now, I was really hoping that we could get Missing No like early. You know, we all know the other way to get Missing No, but I thought this would be extra special. And unfortunately, this kind of had been anticipated. There's a glitch when sometimes if you catch it, it will just turn into a Rhydon in your party, and that's exactly what happens. At this point, I'm not really all that interested in Rhydon, so unfortunately for us, we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer before we can use Missing No. Now, Erica is up next, and I start out by getting a lucky burn on her Victory Bell. Despite its overpowered use of poison and continual wrap, my burn is enough to take it down first and set my mind at relative ease. Charmeleon actually hits another burn on Tangela and then falls to Vileplume. At this point though, Mew now has Mega Punch. My man comes out fists blazing and somehow manages to give a plant with no brain CTE. Now despite the win, I'm still feeling a little disheartened about the Rhydon, so I decide to check my Pokemon stats again and see what's up for grabs. To my excitement, Mew's special stat is at 75. So we run the teleport glitch again, get Ditto to transform into 75 special Mew, and this time we're greeted by a level 7 Zapdos. Now, as exciting as this is, the one thing I again need to preference is Zapdos is going to learn no moves for this entire run. While I do give it Fly, it will be running Drill Peck and Thunder Shock for the rest of this playthrough. Anyway, after some trainer battling, Koga is up next, and I actually almost wipe to the very first junior trainer. This guy has an insanely strong Hypno, and at this point I'm thinking there is no way I'm ready to take on this next gym. But as I start to battle through, we get a little more XP, and Charmeleon finally learns Slash, which is a move that will always crit. I also remember that Koga's team is nothing like the junior trainers in here. So with a little bit of overconfidence, I decide we should give it a shot. I lead Zapdos for XP, and Charmeleon is able to take down the first Coughing. Muck is evolved, but defensively weaker, so Slash actually does good damage against it, and we're able to get it down in 5 hits. From here, 3 slashes is all we need for the next Coughing, and I am laughing at myself for being worried about this. From here, his last Pokemon comes out, and fearing such mighty strategies, Koga decides there is no way he can handle a Charmeleon with Slash and just decides to forfeit. He takes the honorary way out, chooses self-destruct, rather than to waste any more of either of our time. Badge number 5, complete. Now, after what happened against a single Hypno, I'm not really feeling like I'm ready for the Psychic Gym, so I decide to head to Cinnabar Island and do some training along the way. Charmeleon gets the spicy level up to 36 against another Charmeleon, and I guess by asserting its dominance, this allows it to evolve into Charizard finally. And from here, we head to Silphco to deal with some shenanigans and then pick up a Master Ball. With a few more level in our pockets, I'm feeling a little more spicy, and so we head to Sabrina's gym. So again, it's important to note the significance of having Charizard for this fight. It's pretty fast, but more importantly, it has the normal, always critting move Slash. Sabrina's Pokemon have really high special and very low defense, so physical moves are important. But she also has Pokemon with Reflex, and Slash will actually hit through that. So I lead Charizard, and I'm actually fast enough to outspeed her Kadabra, and I take it down in 1 shot to lead. Mr. Mime comes out next, and it goes for Confusion before going down in 2 hits. I actually try for an Ember on Venomoth, but not even doing half damage, I decide to go for Slash, and it's able to nearly finish it off. But now it's time for the very scary part. Alakazam comes out, and as expected, it does exceed us. Now, as an 11-year-old boy, I cannot begin to fathom the complexities, the inner mechanisms of Sabrina's mind with this next play. She goes with the tactical decision to recover at full HP. I managed to get a hit in, but it then goes for Psybeam and takes us out. From here, I swap Zapdos, and for whatever reason, it uses Psywave, and that's a dub. Thank you, Sabrina. So I decide it's time we head back to Viridian to talk to an old man that wants to teach us how to catch. Since I'm a filthy hacker, I didn't know this yet, but I was feeling very inspired by his demonstration, and I decided to head to Cinnabar to see what I can find along the coast. Come across all sorts of things, a level 132 Mewtwo, and also all of a sudden I seem to have a lot of Master Balls in my inventory. So I catch it, but I realize its stats are gonna make this run really, really boring, so I just send it to the box because it's stupid. Eventually, however, I find a level 80 missing no, and despite my inner 8-year-old screaming at me to not do it, I decide to catch it. And yeah, so now we actually have a missing no. So its stats are basically awful, apart from ridiculously high attack, and also iconically it has the move Sky Attack. So basically, what we have here is a Pokemon that takes 2 turns to set up, is an absolute glass cannon, but will kill anything it touches. It's weird, it's niche, and I think it makes a perfect addition to our team. And I figure what better way to showcase him than by leading Misako into our fight with Blaine. Now, Missing No is also stacked with 2 water guns, and so hitting one of these, it's almost able to do a whole 5th of Growlithe's HP in one shot. Yeah, terrible special means that this is just never gonna be worth it. So I go to charge up a Sky Attack. The Growlithe does not take us out, and we absolutely obliterate it. Unfortunately, from here, as we go for the next one, Ponyta hits a Fire Spin that brings us down to 22 HP, and as we try again, we get taken down. And I just gotta say, like, this was hilarious to me. Missing No doesn't really feel like a Pokemon, but more like a cannon that you have to, like, take a turn to set up. Anyway, from here, Zapdos finishes off Ponyta before I send out Gengar. Now, fearing the Fire Spin, I hit Confusion, and it goes down cleanly. Unfortunately for the Arcanine, we're not so lucky as it lands a Fire Blast with a Burn. Now, Gengar has really high special, so it is able to eat it, but it eventually goes down. From here, though, in the far distance, I hear a slight rumbling. Do you hear that? What is that? Sounds like some sort of motorized vehicle heading our way. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Mew comes out, starts throwing hands to the point where Arcanine also decides that it's just had enough, goes for a takedown, and knocks itself out with us. And, you know, I really can't blame him. Feels like, just like Koga, Blaine saw the writing on the wall. I'd be scared of a Mew that only knows how to throw punches too. Anyway, from here we head straight to Giovanni to put another beatdown on him and secure badge number 8. Yeah, that's right. Giovanni gets 2 sentences, and 1 is to make fun of him. And immediately after this fight, I decide to take on Blue to get Mew to level 40 so that it can finally learn Psychic. And so for the first time of this entire playthrough, our party actually has a good stab move. Now, before we take on the Elite Four, I decide I want 1 more Pokemon for this run. And so with a sudden giant pocket full of rare candies, I decide to level up my Venusaur so that its special stat is exactly 183. So we perform the Ditto glitch again, just as previously, except this time we're able to force the fossil form of Aerodactyl to spawn. This is what I'm very excited to see, like, what it's rocking. And upon detecting its stats, it seems to have the same ones as the previous, but this time its moves are that of Venusaur. So I decide to give it Toxic despite my previous rule, really just for the memes. I mean, how could I do a glitch run and not take advantage of the Leech Seed Toxic glitch? I then make it hit level 50, and we head towards the Indigo Plateau. Lorelei is up first, and oh man, wow, are we underleveled? So I lead with Zapdos, which despite still only having Thundershock, is able to take out her Dugong and most of her Cloyster. Gengar then manages to get a Hypnosis off before going for Confuse Ray. From here, I swap into Fossil Aerodactyl and decide to hit a Leech Seed. I then try Vine Whip for minimal damage. Slowbro wakes up, but before he can get a shot off, I decide to hit the Poison. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we got Leech Seed Toxic Confusion strats going strong. And this is enough to get Slowbro to go down, and from the XP, we actually get a level up. And upon this happening, Aerodactyl gets a ridiculous stat makeover. So it goes from ridiculous attack to very good speed and special. Considering it's using grass moves, this is an absolute upgrade. And with this crazy speed, it now actually outspeeds Lapras, and we can land a few decent Vine Whips. It goes down, but we're able to finish the fight off with Dream Eater Gengar. Now going into Bruno, I come to the realization that I actually only have 7 revives in my inventory, and I'm gonna have to play really well so that I can go into the champion fight with a fully healed team. Fortunately for the Bruno fight, this is all we have to do. Now, unfortunately, Mew is not able to one-shot the Machamp, so for good measure, I let Mew finish off the Machamp with a Mega Punch. And that's just to further assert that while he may look like a Mew, the kid hits like a truck. Anyway, speaking of trucks, Agatha also hears a light rumbling in the distance, and all of a sudden I burst in and do this. Oh, okay, actually, yeah, this fight's not gonna be so easy. Okay, so Mew is able to Psychic Haunter, punch Golbat, punch Arbok twice in the face, and from here, a simple Hypnosis Dream Leader is enough to finish off a 21 level higher Gengar. That is Agatha down. So now it's Lancet time, and for this one, I elect to revive Aerodactyl and Zapdos. I start with Zapdos outspeeding his Gyarados, and I'm able to take it down in 3 after surviving a Hyper Beam. I then land an absolutely beautiful crit on his Dragonair before going down, and from here I send out Gengar, who is Poison type. So being the Dragon Master that he is, Lance sees a Psychic type weakness, so decides to go for Agility. His speed goes higher and higher, and crits are determined by your speed, so I'm just out here fearing that Agility is going to crit, but fortunately, everything works out, and Gengar is able to take down both his Dragonairs. Now up next is Aerodactyl, where we get to witness Lance's true ferocity. In a move of sheer brilliance, he then goes for a Hyper Beam followed by Bite before succumbing to my sleep. I then send out my own Fossil Aerodactyl, which is almost able to kill, but falls to a Hyper Beam. Still having zero grasp of type advantage, he elects to try another Hyper Beam on my Gengar before falling to a Nightshade. Alright, Lance, this is your last Pokemon. Let's see if you have learned your lesson. Barrier. Nice. Truly a 999 IQ play that my Nightshade will never be able to get around. Lance, I must say, you truly are a master. Alright, that's enough for this fight. Missing no, finish this sucker off. And now, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it is time for our second last fight of the game. So for blue, I lead Zapdos, and there really isn't much his Pidgeot can do against us. Alakazam comes up next, and I swap Mew to eat the Psybeam, and then launch back at Alakazam a Fury of 1,000 Fists. Nice try, blue, but my Psychic types don't play mind games. They just hit like trucks. Now Rhydon is up next, and I send out Fossil Aerodactyl to crush him with the Sea of Vines. Unfortunately, Exeggutor takes my Fossil down with a Stomp, but now it's time for the true Missigno to shine. Sky Attack is powered up. From here, he decides to go for a Barrage, which lands 3 times, taking Missigno down to 2 health. From here, it is able to get off the Sky Attack and decimate his Exeggutor in 1 shot. Missigno is trash, and honestly, that is all I needed from it. This is truly, truly beautiful. Gyarados is out next, and Zapdos manages to land a crit Thunder Shock before going down. From here, though, Mew is able to finish things up with a Psychic. From here, he sends out his ace Charizard to land a Fire Blast and take out Mew. I then send out my Charizard with one goal in mind. Knowing that I am a Fire type, he will not use any of his Fire moves, and instead use his 2 normal moves randomly. Fortunately for us, he decides to choose Rage, which in Gen 1, you are locked into until the Pokemon faints. Charizard does go down, but from here we're able to send out Gengar to easily finish it off. And I gotta say, it's kind of poetic, right? Blue's Charmander was the Pokemon that allowed this glitched Gengar to exist in the first place. So, it's kind of fitting that Gengar would be the one to take it out. And so now normally that would be the game. But, ladies and gentlemen, since we are playing a glitched run, I couldn't help but think we need to include the secret final fight of this game. And, that is accessible through, of course, you guessed it, glitches. So from here, I run a whole bunch more rare candies on our Kadabra until its special is 226. And so for this video, you've seen how we've been running this Ditto glitch to force wild encounters. Well, not only does it do that, but the corresponding special stat can also force various trainers to spawn. And like completely real, you can do this on an old cartridge on a Game Boy. With the Ditto glitch and its special stat of 226, you can actually force the secret final boss fight against Professor Oak. And so, that's what we did. So despite only having 5 Pokemon, he is definitely the hardest fight in the game. Fortunately for us, however, we have a Gengar. He leads Tauros, which has nothing but normal moves. Tauros is left helpless as Gengar slowly whittles him down, and it turns out Exeggutor is in the exact same boat. His Exeggutor has Stomp, Barrage, and Hypnosis, so that one actually ends up being another free win for Gengar as well. Now, next up is a level 68 Arcanine, and it actually does no Ember. Good for us that it's not Flamethrower, but it is able to do a bit of damage. I managed to get off a Hypnosis and then go for a Confuse Ray for additional insurance. From here, I basically just start hitting Dream Eaters until I get pretty healed up, and then I decide to finish it off with a Nightshade. So yeah, it turns out Gengar is really overpowered in this generation because like everything has nothing but normal moves. Anyway, now it's time for a starter, and my goal was to actually get him to spawn Blastoise. I just thought it would be cool if all 3 starters were to appear, but I messed it up, and yeah, he sends out another Charizard, and while I thought it's kind of funny that this ended up being the game of 3 Charizards, every main character has a Charizard, it is a little bit hard to take down. So at this point, I'm expecting a Flamethrower, and because of that, I swap into my own Charizard. Fortunately, he goes for Crit Slash, which is enough to wreck our Charizard, and so I guess it turns out that Oak actually has the dominant Charizard of the region. Anyway, from here, I go Mew, and he plays right into my trap. Once again, just like Blue, locking himself into Rage. Since I know that this Charizard is dead, I go for a few Metronomes for the memes, and I actually hit a Toxic, so I decide to swap into Aerodactyl Fossil to hit a Leech Seed, and I then go back to Gengar to get him up to full health. And now last up is his actual ace, Gyarados. I start off by hitting a Sleep and Confusion before sending it to Zapdos. With still nothing but Thunder Shock, I struggle to take down its health before it absolutely wrecks me with Hydro Pump. Still though, its health is low, so I decide to go for a Hail Mary, and I send out Missing No. I wind back for a Sky Attack, and its first Hydro Pump actually misses. I'm thinking, come on, how perfect would this ending be? But unfortunately, the second Hydro Pump connects and Missing No goes down. But in the end, I realized this is probably the most appropriate way to do it. Knowing we outspeed, I decide to let it be none other than the star of this run, Gengar. Sends off a Nightshade, a move he's had since the start, to finish and secure us with the victory. Guys, I had so much fun with this run. If you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe. That's it. I'll talk to you later.